Hi, welcome to the HV, HV, MV to HV base. I already recorded this once, my microphone was glitching out, so I'm recording a little bit faster this time. This is my storage system. Basically, all I'm doing, I only have one packager out here, so I have one packager per storage link. These are each on a vault to get a stock link, but a stock link on a packager, and I have this package accelerator from additional logistics, making these much faster than what they normally are. I used to have 9 of these six of these, 6 or 9 on these vaults. Turns out that was causing problems because having multiple stock links on one inventory is causing a multiple request bug. So I had to switch over to one, which kind of made me forced to use these. But since I used them once, I had to use them everywhere. Same thing on a fluid setup, except instead of having a vault with multiple, we have one fluid per storage. The reason why I chose this option because these have automatic voiding, so I don't have to handle the voiding of fluids. I handle the voiding of items by simply sending it over to this area. Basically, I have a output line, which is done by the orange ender chest, and the ender chest is then getting filtered by these smart chutes, which is I'm mistaken in Gregtech item pipe. I always call it the pipes. I just pipe it around to a smart chute, which then filters it to make so only items of a certain type can get in here. That certain type is based on the package filter that's inside, and I can show you right now. Package filter right here, simply set to void, and so only items addressed to void can get put in there. The reason why I did this over just having a smart sheet directly on top of the output inventory chest because it's a little bit more performant. The smart sheet checks every single time an inventory gets updated, just checks the interval. For this case, on a large scale, the interval is better, so it's fine. The input line, items get extracted out from these packages, both from the fluids and from the items, and they get put into the output line, noted by this orange chest over here. The items I get outputted get put into this area, which can have a repackager attached to them, which basically groups them all up into one order. They're of the same order, they get put into here, and then they get repackaged, which then get pulled by this crate into this buffer, and then it's sent into the output line. The output line has a bunch of inner chests that are now just being exported by this same exact mechanism, being exported by a pipe that gets filtered and then sent to whatever inventory it needed to be. Input line is almost the same exact thing, except now for storage, I have some filters set up here, which are decently clever. If I can get the screwdriver out again, there we go. There you go. Basically, this is a nihilist to basically make so that anything that isn't all the packages that aren't fluid packages get sent to the item side. All the items, the ones that are fluid packages, get sent to I just keep on doing that. Keep getting sent to the fluid side. And for the items, the packages come out of here, get mingled into these packages, which are once again accelerated by the package accelerator, unpacked into here. You can routed by this laser IO node, which only checks when there's an item in inventory by the content observer. It gets sorted into a closest vault that can actually fit it. Basically, this node is the source of truth, and whenever vault is closest to this, it will just simply spread it across all of these inventories. So if you can fit in here, let's say there is 64. That number's gonna keep on going. Let's say there was a signalium that was coming into here, right? The signalium would basically come into this vault and go directly to here because it's the closest vault to that node. Instead of going to another vault, it's not getting round robin. It's really preferred nearest. Same thing over here with the fluids, except it's a little bit different. The fluids get unpacked into these buffer drawers, which get extracted to this source of truth, and all these other ones right here, this is just a buffer. These ones get sent over to here, get sent over to this buffer anyways, and then still get extracted into this array by a single source of truth. The reason why, the way I make it so that I can actually have it so that everything gets preferred, so it's sent from the closest nearby, is to have this one always do instead of bottom left to the top right, and all these are bottom left to top right because this one sets to priority 0. This line is set to priority 1, so this wall is set to priority -1, this priority is set to -2, so it basically check all of these if it can't go there, check all of these can go there, check all of these can't go there, blah blah blah, and so it's continue or as long as I need it to be. Great. Over here is just a basic IO output for my multi-blocks. Basically, the package gets filtered out here, put into a buffer inventory, and then the IO routes it to the correct place. Remember, these packages are repackaged. That'll become important later, but basically all it does is it simply takes from this node, routes it to each one of these packages. Not sure where. Oh, they're powered by that. That's probably not helpful. Oh no, you can't even output from those. Oh, that's this works fine. Yeah, the packages comes in this buffer, it gets extracted by the node, and gets round robin distributed between all the points that are selected. For this one, it's just a sieve, and the sieve is not too complicated, and it just has a bunch of. Wish I could show you. There we go. Just gonna come over here. Sieve has input hatch, and this has some slots for it. And yeah, basically, I'll show you how it's actually getting this item, which is just a little bit later. Here's just another basic little small setup. This is just the little barrels that I have that I needed to use for. I don't need these anymore. This is mainly for HV. Sorry, for MV. This is how I got biochaff and ethanol and MV. This is for dirt. I'm still using these because I still need dirt for fertilizer, I believe, and for a few other misc projects like that. Like this horrible mistake of a project over here that I hate. Here are here's another setup for a multi-box, which I kind of hate this one a lot. Not kind of hate, I do hate. Essentially, the way this works is that I have items, once again, the repackaged items come into here and get exported to a certain point. But then, the items will first always go to the repackager. The repackager would then try to insert whatever package it can. So if it has fluids and items, it'll insert whatever one it can. It then leaves whatever it has that it cannot be inserted into here. Then once and whatever it's in here, I then take items out of there, send it back to the chute, and then put it back into this funnel, which then pull it back into this, then puts it to that packager, and now it's in this item area. So basically, I'm sending fluids from here. The fluids will get inserted, and then the fluids can't. Sorry, there's items with that package, and then it would simply get sent over to here and then put it into another input patch. This has caused a lot of problems. I have a headache. I hate the setup. I'm not sure. Originally, I only had this row or these two rows, and then I could have fixed it from that point on, but instead of fixing it, I just duplicated it again. I'm not sure why I never fixed it. I really should have. I don't like the setup. Wireless ovens here, kind of like this is like the very primitive version of my like the correct version of a recipe has both fluids and items. Basically the shut up sheet. The items come in from this repackager, get sit into this spectate mode real quick. Sit into this buffer. Buffer then splits. It's getting pulled from both a packager and a fluid packager, and splits the items and fluids to the respective ingredients and puts them in the right input hatches. That's the very basic idea of it, and then once again, the items in there are then getting outputted, automatically extracted by the packager and repack. So sit on very own line back to the blue is the input into storage line. There. And wireless oven, the reason why I have multiple one of these, because each set of 4 of these, each set of 4 is basically another configuration. I believe this one is C8. I can't show that side that needs a configuration 8. Yep, this one's configuration 3. 2. This one's configuration 3. This one's configuration 2. So I just have different configurations per. Sorry, each set is a different configuration. Over here we have our ore factory. This is basically another variation. This was the earliest version. This was the second version. This was the third version of that. Basically of the recipe splitting system. I just never replaced the old ones. I just kind of wanted to keep them as a relic of the past, a reminder, so I can at least show you like my progression through developing my system the way I wanted to do. Yeah, once again, items coming here, repackaged, get split across even properly. It gets split to their fluid and item components and get inserted. Originally, you only had 3 of these. I added 6. I added another 3 later on because I was having throughput issues. I was actually having a big problem, which is one of the main reasons why I now only have 1 stocklink packager per vault now, with a over-requesting bug. On this side, was half the reason I was having throughput issues, and that made me really increase this vault to like 9 size because these weren't here. So 9 long vault. And then one time I actually was so intense I had to add 2 extra 9 long vaults to me so I can have a really bad buffer of stuff. So a really big buffer of stuff, but that issue's been fixed. I'm basically never going to have this maxed out, but if I do, I even have a failsafe for it. If I add this redstone link, which then propagates my cloud up there to basically stop making requests, which I'll show in a bit. Here's my aquatic catcher area. It's basically a giant AND gate to read how many items of, how many of the fish that we have in our inventory in our system, and if they're all reach their delegated amount, it basically turns off the extraction of fish from this storage connector. Um, Next, we still have our basic. It's basically the same exact setup I had from my old base, my ULVT to MV base, I guess. Yeah, yeah. My ULV to MV base. Is the same exact setup. Nothing really changed except I'm now just using a ender chest. So, I can do that again. Uh, Here's my power generation. Actually, this is one of my cooler things that I've made so far. Basically, my factory gauges are keeping in stock a certain amount of all of the outputs of a sand sieving, which if I can find it here from mechanical sieve, all these outputs can go into lapidary dynamo. So instead of just using diamonds like I was originally doing, I instead reinvented my system to include all the outputs. Now what happens is that this laser node will extract all of the outputs into this chest. And once there's two of each and every single stack of, wow, that just disappeared quick. Once there's two of every single stack of item here, it would then enable exportation of this buffer without refilling it, which is a key feature to make it so that I'm actively using all of my ingredients at once in equal amounts instead of just using one ingredient. So basically, this whole chest will get filled. I can show you right now. It will get filled with items, and then it will start draining once all of them reach the required amount that it needs. Really cool system. I love making this one. It's a bit. I wanted to do it with create, but then I wanted to challenge myself because I could do this with create really easily, like insanely easily. All I have to do is to set it to force split. Yeah, set it to force split or force round robin or synchronize inputs. There's a bunch of force things that I could do, and have it automatically do this for me. But figuring out what Blaze Aria was a little bit fun. I still ended up using create because it's the goat. But yeah. But all those items get put into all of these boilers, which then are just set up to another Blaze Aria network to basically get input. Steam drawer. The steam drawer just can set to these dynamos, which can generate my FE. And you have, I forget the exact number, but each one of these can generate 100,000 EU per tick, and there's 4,000 EU. So I forget how many basic amps I have access to at all times here, but it's been enough to get me through H3, so I don't really care too much. Yeah. I actually made a calculator for this setup because I was really confused about the math and how much fuel I can get versus how much dynamos I need to actually saturate all that fuel. But yeah, it was a lot. Little workshop. This used to be a little bit different back in my MV era, but now it's a bit more automated to basically put items or fluids into these buffers. They automatically get put to whatever machine below, and then automatically output to the back. My MV version, this was more manual. I didn't have the automatic IO area. I just simply had the machines. There wasn't two of every single one of them. Next, we have the single block array area. So essentially, the items that are repackaged get dropped into a buffer. The buffer then is extracted from, and gets a round robin distributed 8 different set of machines. Every set of machine here is a different. Every set of 8 is either a different machine or a different configuration per machine. So I have, for example, I have distillery C1s here. Go down here, I have distillery C2s here. I go down to the next line. So distillery C3 back here. Yeah, so C5, but yeah, so on and so on. Every single configuration had another set of 8 machines. Yeah. So the items will get round robin to input into machines by the fluid repackager. The fluid repackager will split the input fluids and the items to the right spots. Then once the item is processed, it gets automatically outputted outputted to the buffer, which the buffer then has getting its ingredients split between the fluids and the items, and then it gets sent back into the input line. For every single one of the machines. This was really annoying. This upgrade, by the way. Before these were all HV. These were all MV, of course. This whole entire array had Signalium. The whole entire array had MV machines. very expensive upgrade. I'm glad I no longer have to do that anymore because I can simply I have the multi-blocks now, which I'll get to in a bit. Okay, so actually, never mind. Get to not right now. Here is my actual favorite array. This is still uses the same, yes, said first iteration, second iteration, second iteration, third iteration. This uses the third iteration of my input IO stuff, and yeah, same exact concept. Fluid packager unpacks the package. It gets split between the fluid items. It gets set in the right place. And the only reason why I have a fourth iteration is because this only really works if either the hatch is full or there's a different recipe. So there's an item that uses a different fluid. Because if they use the same fluid, it technically just builds up the buffer inside of both of these until it's full, and then it actually prevents new recipes from coming here. So it works fine, but yeah, for the most part, it works fine for the most part. There's no issues with it. I just have another system that makes it so that it's actually only one recipe at a time in here. But yeah, I have 16 EBFs, well 24 in total, but 16 of them are set to C2. This is the majority of my EBFs that I use. I've always used the gas plus an item, just an item recipe because I have more time and it doesn't take much time to generate more gases. And the C nuns up here, there is no configuration. This is mainly used for steel, and I forget what else is used for here. So I think like the mono, this stuff is also used up here. So yeah. Next we have the multi-block machines, which the large chemical reactors being the main one that's being a hassle. This is the V4 and probably the final version, maybe. Oh yeah, it's the final version. I would just have different setups depending on the amount of hatches that I need and what hatches can do. Yeah, so the item gets extracted into here, then it gets split between these 4 sets, because once again, this is a set of 4 machines equal 1 configuration. And then the item gets put into this buffer. When the item fluid gets sent into this buffer, it gets sent by this, it gets detected by the smart observer. Machine has a pulse extender to make it so that there's a little bit of leeway with the time that it's getting extracted and how much is being exported back into the system. Sorry, exported to the right area. And it gets sent into this project red line that gets stopped input into this machine. Now, additionally, there is an activity detector on this machine face right here. As you can see, in the activity detector, when it's online, it will then disable this input. So also make sure there's just to guarantee there's only one recipe here at a time, since I have the smart observer here. And as it takes a little bit of time for this packager to actually extract, let's say if there's 3 fluids here, and I have to do 1 export, 2 export, 3 export. Since that takes time, I have this little buffer here. Yep, that's how it is for every single multi-block. Some of these have wall shared a bit more. Some of them, if they had like 3 fluids, as you can see here, this is not being wall shared because there's 1, 2, 3. That's the size of LCR. 1, 2, 3. No wall sharing being done here. Besides the middle wall share, here's the middle wall share because I didn't need this and it was fine, so I had no issues doing that. The back here is just another multi-fluid nightmare. All the elements are a bit more simple. The only one that's as complicated as the LCR is the mixer. So yeah. Multi-fluid outputs to handle the hassle. Some of them are being wall shared, like this middle row, especially the item one, is being wall shared across all 4 of the machines, but the fluids has only one of them being shared between 2 of them because I haven't run into an issue where like multiple fluids at the same, like usually if there's multiple fluids in here, that means there's multiple of the same recipe being shared across all 4 of these machines, so I don't usually have a backup. And even if there is a backup, it's going to be like for like a second, so it doesn't really matter too much. Next we have this distillation tower, which as you can see is nowhere near as complicated as the only takes 1 fluid. So I'm just taking the package from here, distributing it around across all of these repackagers, and it gets inputted to here. Technically, it still has the same exact problem as the EBF, where it's not actually 1 recipe at a time. It can be multiple recipes stored in this buffer, but I don't really care because there's no recipe conflicts here. It's a single fluid or a single item. If there's a single fluid or a single item, there's no chance of recipe conflicts. I just do the setup and let the buffer flow. The cracker has a smaller version of the LCR because it only has 2 fluid inputs, but it still has the same exact locking mechanism. It's just less complicated, less cramped because it's a larger setup. And then we have the industrial barrel. It's again another locking setup. I don't like how long it takes to do. Sorry, how long it takes to glass, but everything else is fine. This one doesn't even use the frame cables because the framed cables because I didn't need to even have these close to be touching. Like I would have just used more cables for that, so I just didn't have them touching. And simplifying that a little bit easier. Hello, Alex. Here's my vacuum freezer. Once again, same exact setup as the yard, but there's only two inputs here. There's the item input. Sorry, these being one shared or 1, 2, 3. That being well shared vertically, but the being horizontally. Once again, one output hatch for. Oh, it's one output hatch for 2 over here. That's interesting. I'm not sure why I did that. Probably some reason. Probably because of the outputs. I haven't left that within some arbitrary space restriction that I posed upon myself. There's output from here. Once again, every single 2 of these having. Are they being more shared? Actually, I don't know. Cared. Here's the forming presses. The reason why I have so many of these is because I wanted to prepare myself for the AE2 crafting section that I never did at MV. I should do this because I'm really tired of using Tom Simple storage, but hey, that's fine. It'll be ready for you when I do it. And this is a simple item setup, so there's only one item. So this is not item and fluid, this is just item. I simply have the item getting round robin distributed into one of these and set another. It's one 4-sensor machine per circuit or per type. Every single 4 set of these is a different type of forming press. Yep. Items that get inputted into here, they'll get processed and then they get outputted. I believe these are all being wall shared. Yep. Each set of 4 is being wall shared by one output because the output out of items can hold multiple slots, so I didn't have to worry about it. Slaves, same thing as the form press, simple IO. Bender, same thing, C1, C2. Centrifuge has the locking setup. This is the. I always forget what this is. This is the autoclave. This is the arc furnace. This is another locking setup. This is the wire mill locking setup. Autoclave. Sorry, wire mill is a simple IO item, so no locking, one output. Some of these have multiple fluid outputs. And have the autoclave right here. Locking setup. This is the cutter. A little bit larger machine. I was debating on putting this back here because it's not a 3x3 machine. It's technically a larger machine, but I said it wasn't really worth it. This cabling is a little bit more ugly too because how long this thing is. But in hindsight, I probably should have just done what I did over there. Just simply not over there, but the other setup, and just simply run a black cable over here and white cable right there would save me some. Oh well. Doesn't matter too much. It's our pulverizer, simple IO. This is our macerator, simple IO. This is our electrolyzer. One of the most annoying sound of the machine, but this has the locking setup on it because it has influid in the item. Centrifuge, no, this is the extruder. Another huge tower of these because I have one. Probably go up. This is bottles. We have a small here. Normal pipe. Rotor. Here. Ring and believe plates should be the bottom one. Check over here. Yep, plates. And yeah, oh sorry. Most of these multi-blocks, besides like I think the vacuum freezer. No, besides the industrial barrel, all have configurable maintenance hazards because I wanted the speed boost, and the fact that it's 3 times as long. Sorry, it takes. It's gonna need maintenance 3 times as much. It doesn't really matter. If if one thing happens every once in a year, it's not gonna happen every third of a year. Doesn't really matter. Here's 3 times as faster, but it's still like insignificant. Not gonna happen enough times, so a stack is still gonna last the entire playthrough. Here's our ore washer. I'm not sure if this has been used. Here's our mixer, which is clearly being used, as you can hear it being used. It's into completed recipe. I love these things. Yeah, here's another LCR. This is because this one has a. This is separate from everything else because it's not really a circuit. It's just its own special. Where is it at? Yeah, they all use the nickel. Like it has a nickel in it. It's not consumed. So all the not consumed special stuff that's not a circuit that I don't feel like adding to this tower will just be put over here. It's one chunk. These are not even going to be the same machine. These are just going to be whatever. So yeah, I'm not sure if I showed the rock refrigerator, but it's basically a third iteration. This is the fourth iteration of the locking system. I'm still using the same idea of using the activity thing to lock it. I should call this 3.5, I guess. But I didn't use item pipes here because I just honestly forgot they existed, and so I used laser IO instead, and I just have them being routed up here. I probably should have used item pipes, especially for not the exports, but yeah. Igneous Extruder and other rock generated setups, they're basically really simple. I just have a packager that simply just pulls out the amount of items that are in there at a time. They're not set to a timer, so that basically as soon as a stack happens, and same thing over here, as soon as the stack happens, it exports the packages to make sure I'm basically getting a stack per time. So it's, I mean, I prefer the Igneous Extruder because they're a bit quicker to generate a stack, but these are also fine. These are incredibly quick, and also have a large buffer, so the reason why these are overfilled so much is because, that large buffer kind of bites me, but it doesn't really matter. They're good items. I can't be upset about having more good items. Yeah. I think I already did the stuff. It's a clean room that I set up, just a miniature clean room. I'm glad you could put lights in here, because they look really weird. But, miniature clean room, this was set up for, as you can see, when I had the MV stuff. I no longer have MV stuff, but this is still remnant from MV. I should probably upgrade this soon, so that's all be HV, but yeah. Next is the, oops, went too far. Next is the crate line with the very loud modular engine that I still haven't muffled yet. A little workshop for create. Not too much going on here. Just whenever I need to do some stuff, I put stuff in the back, it gets processed and comes out the front. Main thing I've been using this for recently has been grass, because there's really no way to easily automate grass without Gregtech stuff. Sorry, without great stuff. I mean, there's grass seeds, but get them real quick. Hoes aren't really fun to automate because this is a normal seed. There's no mechanical seeding for them, so yeah. I don't really care too much. Hold up. Alright. And the way this works is just to create all the basic recipes. I have the repackaged item. It comes out of here, exported into this line, and then simply picks. So each one of these items each one of these packets on here will be a recipe add per time. So it's not gonna be ingredients. It's gonna be a recipe. A recipe gets sent into here, and then processed, which then has the items roll onto the item drain into the vaults, and the item drain also automatically takes the fluid output from here. So the fluid outputs get automatically spout put into the item drain, which then gets repackaged. Sorry, both of them get packaged respectively and sent to the input line. Same thing with the basin setup. Same exact thing. Basin, spout put, split, and then sent to the input line. The simpler ones, like the presses, are just way simpler. The items just get depackaged, split into the tunnel, and then output into here. Makes it incredibly fast. If I get some like iron sheets real quick, let's take a few out of there. Like each time, I think it orders a stack per. I might be using that for iron sheets. Oh, those are the bender. Oh well, I'm not sure what I use that for. Forget. But yeah. Here's another order thing, like the basin, instead of like this having it split across the tunnel, or just get split across the tunnel and get simply preferred nearest across all of these. You call these crafters. This is my crafting setup for anything that can't be made in an assembler. A little bit slow, but it's fine. It's fine for what I need. They don't need to be. There's not a lot of items that need to be made in the crafting table, anyways. If they are, they don't need to be automated. Well, automated too heavily to the fact that I need them a lot. I usually just crash a few things, especially like this, like all the machine blocks I made over here. The pony setup is a little bit frustrating to make because what happens here is the item arrives, gets stored into a buffer, and then once like it's stored into a buffer, and then it gets immediately unpacked into this vault. Whenever there's items either on these depots or inside of these deployers, it does not allow another set of items to be. Sorry, it doesn't allow another recipe to be depackaged. The reason why I have it like that is because there is a secret round robin function inside of the split tunnel. So basically, say we have 4 tunnels and I send 5 items. The first set of items would be like 2, 1, 1, 1. But the next set of items will be like this. Next set of items would be like this, and so on and so on, and this repeats that loop forever and ever. So the fact that happens means I have to lock it to one recipe at a time, and I have to make sure that these funnels are synced up. You make them synced up by simply placing them down at the same time and make sure there's no I/O out from them unless they both have it at the same exact time. So yeah. If there's an item on there, or there's an item in the deployers, there's no new recipe. And it locks everything, so it locks the output of a new recipe into here. Yeah, it's a decent amount of work, and it's also a miniature second setup here that just simply puts any waterproof, puts any cardboard packets over here and makes it so that there's tunnels don't desync by having two different amounts. That's the reason why I thought all the way back here, because if I had them right here, they'll be connected. And this is just simply for automating waterproof blockless cardboards for my food packager mod. I didn't want to keep them crashing. I want to keep them back cracking those. The song setup is really simple. Once again, it takes a recipe. It's not ingredients. It takes a recipe, splits it open, cuts them. Here's a general side. Here's a filter side. So these ones mainly used for planks, slabs, and there's just a general filter there. Here's Energizer. I mainly have this for making, because I'm not really using New Age, but I am using it to make bottles of enchanting. So yes, the whole reason why that's over there, just to make bottles of enchanting, so I can have more enchanting gear. Here's the sanding side, just to make it so I can make my polished rose quartz, since there's no way to make polished rose quartz. So sorry, it's not a really easy way to do it without Great Vintage. Great Vintage is a little bit weird. That's the reason why I have this depot here. Normally, as you can see, I would just funnel into it directly. Great Vintage doesn't do that. It pops onto the world, so I have to put it onto the depot and then put it into the funnel. Minorly aggravating. Here's my overly complicated fan setup. Basically, the items coming from this vault get depackaged into this chest, then get hyper funneled out into the stream of fans, processed and pushed all the way over here until it falls down. It's overly complicated. Sometimes it doesn't work, so I think I'm gonna use the cobweb setup instead. The cobweb basically makes it so that everything up here is still the same. It still gets hyperclocked out here, but the items just fall into a cobweb, and then once they reach the bottom of the cobweb, there's a little funnel that catches it, and then it gets sit back into storage. Makes it a lot easier because I don't have to worrying about how fast this is. So I don't have to worry about the ratio between how fast this is and how fast the back one is. It makes sure that items that push here at the right amount of time. That's kind of a hassle. Instead of a steam engine, I'm just going to actually do this from afar. Instead of a steam engine, I'm using diesel and modular engine because I don't like the steam engines in this pack really. Harder to work with. So I was rather use that. And one of the cooler setups in this great part is the crushing wheel. Essentially, I have an item gets received from here. It's put into a buffer inventory. The buffer inventory, electrolyzer. Is the electrolyzer just full? I'll have to go check on that in a bit. But the items get input to this buffer inventory, and then they get depackaged into this gray, to the light gray chest line. Light gray chest line then is attached to every one of these vaults, and basically so that it will a funnel will try to input from try to pull from there. If it can't pull from there, it will go to the next one, blah blah blah. Go across all the vaults, which I'm using on quite a little unique setup, because this crushing wheel is rotating this way. This one is rotating this way. You can use that fact to make it so that this one's rotating this way, so the input side is this one. And you put another crushing wheel that is rotating that way, so that the output side is here, and you basically have alternate input outputs to maximize the amount of crushing wheels you're using in a given space. Instead of having 2 per, you're technically using like 1.5 per. So pretty cool. And yeah, then once the items get crushed, they immediately get there's no item to see here, by the way. The items go into the crushing controller and get immediately inputted into the ender chest. There's no item entities ever. It's really nice. Even if this gets even this inner chest backs up, it's not gonna spit out the item in there. So it's not gonna spit out the item on top of this funnel. It's just gonna simply wait until this inner chest is blocked up. So it gets unclogged. Yeah, this darker inner chest then has a repackager on it. Sorry, it has a power packager, which is basically extracting from it. These are both accelerated to make it so that they're as fast as possible, and it gets sent back to storage. Although now that I say that, the fact that this is accelerated is kind of silly because it shoots the main limiter, but that's fine. I think that's all of the crate stuff and Gregtech stuff. I don't think I forgot anything down here. Yeah, this besides the fact that this takes literally ages to upgrade, by the way, which is why I'm really glad I made these, because this is going to take way less of a time to upgrade than that. I just have to replace the wires and replace the energy hatches instead of replacing the wires and replacing every single machine here with the next tier variant. That takes forever, so Here's intermediary areas for redstone links because they have a short range. Basically, whenever a area is full, let's say like the centrifuge over here, you can see there's a threshold switch on centrifuge. Whenever it gets backed up, that would activate that signal. I think there's just too many items. Yeah, I don't have a threshold switch at the electrolyzer. I should probably go do that. Like right now, actually. So cause problems real quick. So go. Just doing it live. That's fine. Go find the electrolyzer link up top because I used to have it for the old electrolyzer over there at the single block area, but I don't have it for the this current tier. I believe your electrolyzer. Yeah, it looks like one. That's the electrolyzer. Okay. So let me quickly just throw that. Here, I'll take this link. I'm not gonna edit this out. I'm just gonna leave it there. Go set this to yep. 90 items. Let's do 60 items. 45 items. 45, 24. Yes. There we go. So now we will stop getting electrolyzer requests from my passive system, which I guess is a great segue to show you. It's also the second way to show you the second part of the passive system. So if this output chest ever gets too full, I have a system that stops calling. So it's basically a redstone link that says stop calling. Sorry, stop outputting stuff. Stop outputting stuff covers the passive side, passive cloud, and the crafting cloud. Later on, when I feel like building, these are actually cloud constructions instead of just platforms. But yeah, essentially the way this works is that for any recipe that has a either one-to-many or many-to-many recipe, instead of just anything that's not one-to-one, essentially, gets put over here and it's made so that it's not many-to-one or one-to-one. There we go. It's not because many-to-one can be done in a factory gauge. Anything that can't be done in a factory gauge is over here. For example, sand sieving. Put this over here. Go to the very ends. There we go. All of the outputs are here. Oh, I guess there's dust in the background. But all the outputs are on this wall, and they get sent to here. Basically, if any one of these do not get full, it will cause this request that's on a timer to keep on procking. That this requester is set to 64 dust, and I just have it set to a configurable time that I found optimal to be for my setup. And yeah, I'll just basically keep on procking until either the line gets full, which has a redstone signal, which it just turned off to be full. So there we go, it's back. Oh, it must be like on the edge. Anyways, so either when the line is full, it will stop, or when the designated area is full. Now the reason why these are set to inverted, because if these weren't inverted, it means every single time that this line either got full or this section got full, it will just basically make a random request, causing over request issues, which I didn't want. So it being inverted prevents that block update from happening. Yeah, that's how it works with the passive cloud. Each time you see like a redstone wire, this means these all use the same exact thing. It'll reduce the amount of links that I'm using. Crafting gauge is crafting cloud is the same exact thing, so a smaller setup. This is essentially made to be a faster factory gauge. I had an issue with this one. That's why there's so many pumpkins in my system. But yeah. Never mind. But yeah. So anything that I wanted to be done faster than a factory gauge, I basically do over here because these are way more configurable than a factory gauge. I can send 256 at whatever interval I want. I could send. These aren't limited to 256, by the way. If you put these at a stock ticker, you can put whatever value you want. As long as you have it in storage, you can set that value. So I can send 2 million cobblestone if I wanted to. It would lag my game, because sending 2 million items at once is quite a lot of items. But I could do it every second in that area, and it'll be fun. Ooh, are one of you configured? Oh no. That is not good. I'll leave that, I guess. You didn't see that. Next we have overflow cloud, near same setup as those, except instead of what this does is that whenever a item reaches its target amount, it simply just calls that requester to send the item to the avoiding area I showed you earlier. It says on a timer, and it causes a stack a second to get void. All of these work like that. I wanted to, main reason why I used super tanks was to avoid having this for liquids. If I wanted to do this for liquids, so if I wanted to avoid this for items too, I would have used storage drawers, but I didn't use storage drawers, so it's kind of on me. Yeah, all of these are set to a higher amount required than what I have in storage. Like for example, I think if diamonds are somewhere over here. Oh, that right. These are set to 80 over at the overflow, but if I go back over here, these are set to 50. So the overflow is always a little bit higher than the actual amount requested. And here's the main FPS killer when I come here. Here is my factory gate wall. Every single thing here is automated passively without my input, including the luxurious MV muffler hatch. So, or HV muffler hatch. I thought the reason why I have these automated is because I thought you needed to keep on taking the ash out of the muffler hatches. You don't. They're perfectly fine. Just leave voiding. So I just have like if I never need muffler hatch, I just use an MV one. So yeah. Everything you see on this wall is fully passive, besides like this inner chest because I haven't set that up yet. But everything here is fully passive without my input. And if I make a big request, like a simple, I guess like an IV circuit, you can see like a whole factory light up. It's kind of cool. Yeah. Just to show it off a little quick, I still, I still have my old base. If I hop over here, let's follow this train line down here, click a bunch of times because my is a long line away. I still have my old base. It's all still here, just chilling. I just have it turned off, not doing anything. I have my biggest waste of time on this pack being this area, passive mob farm. I needed passive mobs, and I just made this giant space to make sure I can get them relatively quickly. But I was having a lot of problems, which I'm going backwards. Yes, I'm going backwards. It didn't really show off, but part of the problem I was having with the passive mobs was the passive mob cap, and trying to deal with that. It took me like 2 days to figure out how it works, but basically the fact that I had passive mobs over here were kind of messing up stuff. So I just simply had to name tag these guys to be stopped, and then I got passive mobs over there quickly. Yeah. Here's the fluid extractors. I should make more of these. I didn't. About it, the item I am over here is over at the bottom because these things are special and hate you. So, but they're basic one, so that's fine. I needed a lot of distilled water, so I made a mini distilled water farm over here. Whenever there's not enough in storage, it simply turns on all of these, exports the pumps into them, and pumps get exported and stored into there. So, a bit of enchanting setup, a water farm that I should probably improve, but you know, it's clearly not running, so we're fine. And it's everything. I think I can shut off the clean room this one, so. Yeah, like I said, I already had to re-record this once because my recording messed up, but this time is 20 minutes shorter. So yeah, all for watching. I will catch you on the next base, which I think will be, as it looks like Ivy, even Ivy are kind of the same chapter. I believe the next time the next video should be at LUV. So yeah, I will complete HV, and then I will do LUV. It will be my HV to, I guess more like EV to LUV phase, where I can kind of say HV to LUV phase too. And after that, I believe it will be Ancient Stargate. So yeah, hope to see you around, see how far I can get. Thank you for watching.